Hey, y'all. First of all, I want to thank Bruce. I want to thank Helen. I want to thank Monica. I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Colonel West, of course, but I want to thank all of those, including Pastor Blake. I mean, for them to open up our church with no notice is a huge blessing to us, and we just want to just give everybody a round of applause to put this together this morning. So thanks for everybody who came out. So I want to say something about Bruce, because he's right. We've known each other for a number of years, and it's been kind of fun getting to know him. But the very first time I met him, I might have actually been ordering kind of a right-wing extremist flag on eBay, and so I forgot about it as it was like a month had passed. I didn't know what happened to this thing, and I just you forget about something. I was like, man, that flag's really tattered out front. Let me see if I can figure out where that went. And I got online, I said, wait a minute, that seller is from Decatur, Texas. I was like, I'll just message him, I'll just meet him someplace. So I messaged this dude and said, hey, I've never got my flag, any chance we can meet up? And about an hour later, this old truck petered into my, he said, and he called me first, he said, hey, I just want to make sure, don't shoot, I'm coming out. And so, anyways, we stood there and talked for 4 hours about life, religion, politics, everything. We agree on everything that we've ever talked about. So it's been a pleasure to know the Cunninghams. I just want to introduce myself. I am Andy Hopper. I'm running to be your representative for Texas House District 64. I'm joined here with my beautiful wife. Amanda. We've been married 26 years. We have 3 outstanding conservative sons who, my oldest is getting married on Saturday, a week from today. So we believe that. Yeah. So a little bit about me. I'm software engineer, chief warrant officer in the Texas State Guard. I have the opportunity and blessing to be able to serve with my oldest son. He's a sergeant in the same unit. And that's something that we don't see very often in the military these days, and it's something that's still alive and well in the Texas military forces. So anyways, I actually ran for this seat about 2 years ago, and it was the closest race in the state of Texas. It was 88 votes on election night. So this is a district that we need to rescue. But let me ask you all first. So just, did you all know that the Texas legislature just this session passed the largest spending increase in Texas history? Over $65 billion, a 42% increase in 2 years. Are you guys happy about that? No. Are y'all happy about the fact that your Texas legislature passed the largest corporate welfare plan in U.S. history of any state? $18 billion. What do you think about that? No. What do y'all think about that your Texas legislature started session with a $33 billion surplus and only gave you $12 billion in property tax relief? Yeah. Not good, right? Not cool at all. So your Texas legislature actually puts Democrats in charge of committees. Do you know that we're the only Texas legislature that has the majority party voluntarily surrender leadership positions to the minority party? Our Texas House has 8 members of the Democrat Party, radical Democrats. Many of them fled to Washington 2 years ago. Many of them identify as members of the LGBTQ caucus. One of them identifies as a pansexual. These are positions that were filled with the express consent of Dade Phelan. Dade Phelan, the reprehensible Speaker of the Texas House, who also put a Democrat parliamentarian, Hugh Brady, an Obama donor, as the parliamentarian. And so with all this, with this backdrop, understand that our border is being completely invaded by no less than 8.5 million people. Last time I counted, the number's probably quite a bit larger over the last 2.5 years. In fact, last week we broke the all-time record across the southern border of the United States, 12,001 day. So there was a border bill, it's called HB 20. It would have created a permanent Texas border force. There were various versions of this bill, but the reality is it was killed by the Texas House. It was killed by Dade Phelan. It was specifically killed by Hugh Brady when Democrats were allowed to bring forward a useless point of order on this bill, and this bill was then killed on the floor of the Texas House. That is the leadership that we have in the Texas House. And unfortunately, many of the reps, and one of them that I'm running against, is funded for, is supported by, and my opponent. And that is true across so many districts in this state, and we have to rescue the Texas House. But here's the thing, what we've seen is over the last 2 years is a full-scale frontal attack by the federal government on the values of Texas. We have a government that is weaponized against the people, and this is something that our founders never intended, because the states are supposed to be sovereign, and our federal government has powers that are few and enumerated. Let's look at a few of the things over the past 2 years that we've seen as attacks on our federal government that our legislature had the power to stem. Election integrity is something that all of us care about. I go door to door, and that is one of the top 2 issues to people. A lot of folks are rightfully concerned that our elections have been hijacked, stolen, or not secure. And the reality is that whether you agree with that or not, if citizens do not believe in the process, it is our legislature's responsibility to take proactive action to fix those elections and make them something that everyone can get behind and believe in. And so how many people know that there were dozens of bills that were submitted, many by Steve Toth, to the Texas House, and they all died in the Texas House Committee of Elections this session? How many of y'all know that there was a bill 2 years ago that was submitted that would have split federal and state elections if we found out that the federal government was going to force us to basically take ballots that weren't legitimate? And that bill went a long way, but died in the Texas House. My opponent did not support it. But now we are in a situation, many of y'all don't know, where the federal government has actually, federal courts have said that Texas must now, for this election that's coming up, accept mail-in ballots even if the information provided in the mail-in ballot is inaccurate. Can you believe that? No. And so we expected our legislature to take proactive action and actually work ahead of the problem and not be years behind. And here we are in that situation. Another example is our currency. The federal government has said, our elected president has made it a point to tell all of us that he intends to bring us into the world of CBDCs, central bank digital currency, which will basically emulate what we see in China, where we actually have folks that are in the midst of a social credit system where the government cancels them. Not just social media, but the full weight and power of the government. That's what we will have if we are forced to absorb CBDCs as our currency. And so our Texas legislature, once again, we had some good reps that actually filed bills that would have created a gold-backed digital currency for the state of Texas, supported by our Senator Tam Parker. That bill died in the Texas House. And so here we are again with no protection. Our legislature is not doing its job. But our founders knew that this might be a problem. They knew that there could be a situation where our government was weaponized against us and that we would have to stand as a state to stand against those transgressions. And they believed, and how many people believe that the presidency is the most powerful office in the United States? It's not. How many people believe that the founders intended federal courts to be the most powerful entity? No, they actually made it very clear in Federalist 26 that the most powerful branch of government in our republic is the state legislature. In fact, they said that the state legislature should always be vigilant and suspicious guardians of the rights of citizens against the encroachment of the federal government, and that they would keep their attention awake to the national rulers, and if anything ever appeared, that they would be the voice, and if necessary, the arm of the discontent. Do you believe that your Texas legislature is prepared to be the voice and the arm of your discontent? No, they are not. And that's because we have dozens, at least 60 Republicans that basically answer 100% to the Speaker of the Texas House, a liberal that was selected by the Democrats. He got the Democrats' support first, and then he scurried over to the Republicans and said, hey, I only need a few of you to break ranks. The Democrats already support me. That guy's name is Dade Phelan, and he's essentially working for the Democrats. He actually perpetrated an impeachment of a sitting statewide elected official with the support of 60 Republicans and 61 Democrats. That's why I'm running. I believe that we need representatives that will stand up for our conservative ideals, even if we stand alone, and I will absolutely do that. I believe that we have an opportunity right now that is unparalleled in Texas history. In fact, I just checked this morning. Believe it or not, there are 51 House Republican incumbents that are being challenged by primary challengers. That is historic. It's historic. We've not seen this in generations, and this is an opportunity. Even on the law of averages, we could flip 5, 10, maybe 15 House seats and win, and that would transform Texas history. This is an opportunity for all of us, and I'm very excited about this idea that we can rescue this district. This is a district that we can rescue. This is a district we almost won, and with y'all's help, I know that we can, but we need to win so many more. There are many, many good candidates that are running across the state, and we actually see some of the impeachers. Andrew Martin, the guy with the mustache that was one of the main perpetrators of the impeachment of Ken Paxton, he resigned. He not resigned, but he stepped. He says not going to run again. So we have a chance in that seat, and many, many others. So. With no further ado, I wanted to first of all thank our main speaker, because you're not here to listen to me. But I wanted to thank our main speaker, and I wanted to just tell you a little bit about him, because I will say that Colonel West is someone that, in the years that I've been involved in Texas politics, I have looked up to. Colonel West, a little bit about him. He was in the Army for 22 years. Colonel West was in the Texas State Guard. I actually was honored, even though we didn't interact, I was honored to serve at headquarters with him at the same time. He was a colonel in the Texas State Guard. And I tell you what, the thing that is most impressive about this man is his tenacity and his unwillingness to ever surrender or give up. There is not a single man or woman in Texas politics that I would say is more feared by the Democrats and the Rhino establishment than Colonel West. And he has single-handedly ignited the Texas grassroots movement, in my opinion. Every grassroots club that I'm familiar with, their first meeting where they drew a very large crowd that basically informed the electorate about this new movement of conservatives that were standing to rescue their state. Over the last number of years, those groups and those meetings have been inaugurated by Colonel West. He started Wise County Conservatives, from my perspective. The room was full with 300 people, and it's because they were here to listen to the truth that Colonel West was speaking. Colonel West always goes back to the basics, goes back to what the founders intended. He educates people about the Constitution and how we need to get back to the idea that our republic is a government made of limited powers, and that it exists beyond the consent of the people. And he is able to bring that message to people in a way that causes them to have tears in their eyes and brings them to their feet. In fact, I will never forget in Parker County a couple of years ago that he actually got an entire room to stand up and take the Army oath of enlistment. Now, how many people can pull that off? Only Colonel West. So give it up to Colonel Allen West.